right, yes, so this is the event we have been all waiting for, the town hall meeting with everyone. All right, so thanks for Vanessa and Junlong for organizing. This is a great opportunity for us to meet here. All right, so now, first of all, why do we have this town hall meeting? So to simply put, we want to clarify any doubt you may have, and we also want to improve everyone to improve. The course also need to improve. So that's the main purpose. And also the second reason why we are here is because you all matters. Particularly you, okay, you, every one of you matters, right? So, and our alumni, yes. So Fergo is our alumni, and currently he is our staff joining us for a few months. So yeah, alumni matters. So later Fergo will share some of his views in this session, and he need to go for a lesson later 3 o'clock, so we will catch him before that, right? And also our teachers, my fellow colleagues and your teachers, everyone are much valued to make diploma in chemical engineering a diploma of choice and that you will be proud of. Okay, so now one key whole thing that we would like to deliver and hope that we all work toward this is one word. Okay, so what are we doing, right? So you, everyone, colleagues, myself, we are here together to train for confidence. Just one word, confidence. The confidence of learning, the confidence of joining industry, and the confidence of many other key skill sets. All right, so we'll move on. The whole thing is about confidence, and we hope whether you are year 1, year 2, or year 3, you are in the journey with us together towards the confidence that to be upon graduation and moving forward. All right, so now next. So for Chem Engine course team, we have 4 colleagues together. Mr. Chen has been sending quite many emails to all of you, right? You must be quite familiar that whenever important email is all from Mr. Chen, right? For your ACAD progression and many others, right? So Mr. Wang is senior lecturer and he has been contributing a lot in the course management team as well. Mr. Bong is here with us today, right? So yeah, Mr. Bong is here and you also must be quite familiar with him. He is also our teaching award recipient. Yeah, right. So myself, Miao Huang here. So that's the 4 of us as part of the course management team. Right. So in terms of academic matters, right? So let's move on. Okay. Well, okay, so in terms of the course structure, so this is a slide to give an overview. Depends which year you are in. You are year 1 or year 2 or year 3. So basically for over here, let me put a pen. Right. So for this first part is year 1. Okay, for year 1 is a foundation. So if you are already your April sem, you have gone through quite some of the module in the fundamental subject. Right. So later we also hear you there's quite some concern about GPA, about how to cope and the home-based learning. We'll come to that as well. And later we have a good opportunity to discuss on that. So with all this foundation study, we move on for our year 2 classmates here. We have gone through year 1, then just finished the 2.1. We are looking forward, hopefully. We're looking forward to October sem, right? So for the year 2, it's very important because many of the chemical engineering core fundamental subjects are in the year 2, and you are almost there, right? So before your internship, this is the last semester, and also before you choose your elective cluster. For our year 3, some of our seniors are here. So seniors, do feel free also to comment on some of the questions later may raise. You have your real life experience to elaborate and share with juniors and the rest of the students, right? So the SIP and the elective cluster. So overall, that's a journey. So the year 1 is build the foundation to get used. And very commonly, we do have this year and year that year one somehow is the most challenging year because it is quite a transition from O-level or earlier study to poly study. It's all quite depends on your own time management and the way you how self-disciplined and how self-motivated. So it's really very common and very often we hear feedback from our year one that yeah, it's really struggling. If you are not alone, right? So then year two will get more used to the kind of self-paced learning, and particularly for this time, it's very challenging. Every one of you are experiencing the home-based learning. Later, Fergal will also share a bit on that. Okay, so this is the part in terms of GPA. Now this is the time for our year one. Maybe you'll be wondering, right? So after the one semester, how is this calculated? So for year two and year three, you are quite familiar with. So just this slide is just to brief everyone a little bit. So the highest possible GPA is 4.0 if you get 80 and above, right? So that's these are the, so next is important as how to calculate the GPA. So this is one example. So this is taking one example for our year one classmate that taking this grade. So this grade will translate a grade point. And also take note there's credit units for each of the subject. So you will add, okay, all together for EM1, 4 credit unit times credit or grade point. So you get this number 4 times 4 plus another subject, which, okay, this is not direct example, right? So because if the 3 here should be 4, so should be, oh yeah, so it's 4 times 3. Is 4 is here. 4 is the credit unit times the grade point, 4 times 3, and goes on and on. And after that, need to calculate the total credit unit. Then this number divide the total credit unit is the GPA. So that's how it is calculated. So from here, you will see the higher credit unit subject will have a higher weightage or higher impact in your final GPA. Right. So that's a very a topic of high concern. We'll come to that also later. Okay, how to better cope. Right. So okay, let me see. Yes. Okay, so how to better cope, we'll put that in part of the Q&A. So now let me invite, if Virgo, you are ready to share about home-based learning, your insight, and what are the things we would like to gather inputs from everyone here. Right. Virgo, you let me know once you are ready. Then you can share.
Good afternoon. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, can hear you. I stop sharing, then Virgo, then you take over here first.
Yeah. Hi everyone. Sorry, I can't on my video camera, but just bear with me with this. So actually, hi guys. I'm Fergo. I was a chemical engineering student from Temasek Poly. I graduated in 2019. I have just graduated 2019, and then I pursue my studies to SIT-TUM, also known as Singapore Institute of Technology, Technical University of Munich. I'm doing also chemical engineering, so it's the same thing that I pursue from poly. And right now I'm in year one. So the reason I'm here is to share with you some of my insights and about how the new era of studying from home affects students' learning. So actually, I would just like to point out that there will be a survey that I would love for all of you to participate so that we as a chemical engineering in Temasek Poly can improve how you learn during this time of period. I will be posting the link later. Yeah. And I would like just to share with you guys about my 3 years in Temasek Poly, how I arrived here at SIT. Sorry, I don't have anything to share visually, but I would love for you guys to hear me out. So actually, I'm a student that actually do quite badly in year one. In fact, when I was in year one and year two, my GPA is like just from 2 point, a range from 2 to 3 only. Then I started really low, like 1.9 something, and then finally at year 3, thankfully that it's a very high GPA. So but then overall it becomes like 3.0. So I would just love to share with you guys that for those who are not doing well at this point, where if you are in year 1, year 2, year 3, it doesn't matter really where you are now, but it matters at the end of the day. So it doesn't matter if you are scoring bad GPAs right now, but it's what you do right now to change those GPAs for the upcoming year. Because as for me, when I was doing badly for my foundation subjects such as organic chem, inorganic chem, and I was getting like C only or B. So what I did was to find out what are the credit units for each subject, which is the heaviest, and to make sure that other credit unit doesn't affect also, to basically to ensure that there is a balance. Like since I do quite badly on this one, I need to make sure that the other credit unit is there is the same credit unit, to balance it out so that I don't really fall so low. Um, so regarding on home-based learning, right now, the study tips that I would like to share with you that seems to work for me is to actually really keep the communication with your lecturers really close, be it Zoom or Teams. That's the part of the survey that we will be giving out later. Basically, we would like to see how well is your study quality. Okay, so because now is a very difficult time, I understand that sometimes before COVID, even if you can agree that your study quality is much better last time than now because of the home-based learning. Yeah, so a few tips. Okay, number one to number three. Number one is to have a study plan. Um, yeah, it doesn't. I'm afraid to say, but almost every day you need to know what you're doing. Like especially at this time where you have more doubts that you cannot clarify ASAP. So have a study plan. What is a study plan? Well, is to know what you are studying for the day. Keep it short and don't over exert yourself. Number two is to to know what is the upcoming topics that is gonna come for the following weeks. You don't just study blindly and don't know what are you gonna learn for the upcoming weeks. So that's very important because you are getting ready for it. And number three is to just have a study group or study peers, because at this time of period, during this COVID period, like the lesser you face your friends, and then the lesser you get your answers, your doubts clarified faster, right? So try to get your peers, two or three, doesn't matter as long as it's quality, and to have like study sessions together, maybe through online or even like at a library or something. Yeah. So I think that's my part of my sharing. So, but if you guys have any questions, you can leave it on the chat. I would love to answer.
Thank you so much, Virgo. All right, so I will continue my part of the slide, then we move on to Q&A. Okay, all right, so yes, so thanks Virgo for sharing. And so this is a slide that we continue that you all value, right? You are much valued, and that's why we are very excited to share with you and clear any doubt you may have. And you also please feel that you are never alone, right? You are here with us for these 3 years, and there are many batches of your senior, just like Virgo, graduated. There are many batches, right? So you are never alone. So this is a community. Once you join us, you are part of the family, right? So teachers, yes, I show some photos that happen to be teachers gather during sharing good meals. So teachers take photos when we have good meals with us. Okay, so again, you are never alone in the journey with us for the 3 years. There are dedicated teachers with you, and do approach us if you have any challenge you face regarding the academic challenge encountered and other matters. You have your care person, you have subject tutors. We are all here to support you. All right. So now let's move on to another keen interest of you. Many of you raise important point about the industry prospect and elective clusters. So let me spend some time on this. And also towards the end, I also gathered insight from our industry partners, and they do send me messages to give the word of encouragement to you all. So later, a little part of this part, I will read out some of the messages I received from the industry partner. All right. So now industry prospect. So this is a slide that we are very proud of, and the part of the confidence that we are training you is the confidence of being adaptable to many industries. So here is providing some example of some of the industry that chemical, energy, this is obvious, and also pharmaceutical, water industry, and even semiconductor industry. So this is something probably a little bit new, and testing lab research institute. So we are listing here to give you an overview, and many of you might have questions later. We always discuss that this is the part versatility. The course is preparing you in this journey, while the journey could be tough, right? The subject is never easy to pass, and let alone to score an A. It's not easy. But the whole purpose is to prepare you with the confidence we mentioned earlier to be able to join the industry of your choice. So this is the diversity and the skill set we're talking about. So the elective clusters, our year 3 seniors feel free to add on. And for our year 1 and year 2, there is going to be a time for you, right? You can look forward to that you can choose 4 elective clusters offered by Diploma in Chemical Engineering. Also take this opportunity to share. There are also elective clusters offered by other diplomas. You also feel free to choose, right? So you have abundant options. If you choose not to choose from these 4, yeah, there are other elective clusters offered by other diploma, and you are highly encouraged to try as well. So for this, the 4 in the elective cluster chem engine offer here, we will have more information in the easy briefing session separately. And regarding how to choose elective cluster and all these, there will be separate meeting with our year 2. For year 1, no worries. It's good to know early. Definitely it's good to know early, but no need to worry too much, right? You still have time. For year 2, it's about time, right? Then do look out for the decision-making workshop and all these coming in the pipeline so they can join and make a good decision. All right. So overview here, there are applied chemistry. Right. So this bullet point shown here is about the modules that you will take under this elective cluster. Applied chemistry, mainly focusing on lab skills. All right. So the testing skills. While this part, chemical processing, is more for later. We have more slides. Okay. So this is the overview. All right, so chemical processing talking about plant operation. So that's why the 2 module more focus on the safety. Safety is very important in the field, and also focus on the plant process. We also have this elective cluster, pharmaceutical and biologic technology. This will prepare our students with the confidence and competence to join biopharmaceutical manufacturing industry. Last but not least, we have a new elective cluster to the semiconductor technology. We'll share more in the later slide. So to highlight here at this point, semiconductor technology is very interesting in that it is a close collaboration with engineering school. So our student will have the opportunity to go take the other module in engine school together with engine students. And happy to share, so far our pioneer batch has done very well. So our students are doing very well in the subject, in all the 3 subjects. Okay, particularly well in the engine subjects. Right, so next slide, let me see. Okay, so applied chem, this is yeah, so some of you do ask your question, we'll also address later about some of you are passionate, right? And I believe many of you are passionate about chemistry, that's why you are here. That's one of the pulling force for you to join us. All right, so for applied chemistry, we'll prepare our student with skills and skill set to work in the laboratory, in the research labs as research technician or research assistant. Chemical processing, Okay, for chemical processing is one of the largest manufacturing industry in Singapore, and yeah, we do receive later I will share from our industry partner words of advice to you for this chemical processing industry. And some of you also raised the question later we'll address. Yeah, so you will take this kind of plant operation, large scale production into, yeah, good to understand more about this as well. Okay, pharmaceutical and biologic technology. So this is the elective cluster, prepare our student for the pharmaceutical manufacturing industry. And this is now, yeah, it's really expanding right now. You can see that for vaccine production and a lot of industry demand for this skill set. Okay. Semiconductor technology, and you will be, this is a very important industry as well, because with the move of the automation of industry 4.0 and many others, the need for the electric appliance and many or other things need lots of semiconductor industry support. And from industry, we have here industry insights. Again, there's huge amount of talent needed for the semiconductor technology. Right, so this just now talk about the industry, all the study, right, all the series part. So this would like to bring to your attention our interest group, niche interest group. And Junlong is part of the niche, and Sijie is the president of the group. So we are very proud and very fortunate to have this strong student body to help organizing many things. And one of the, later I'll share, yeah, thanks for the support from niche team. Okay. So this is just one slide just to share that we mentioned that there are many fun activities other than study, right? So there are niche activity to join. There are also events coming your way. There are race challenge, right? There's many other events. You take notes in the TPOA app and also in Mr. Chen's email and also in LMS. There are many events to make your journey eventful and memorable, right? So, and also important things through all these events is to hone our skills that is transferable. Is that not inside our GPA, not inside our transcript, but will be there when you go for interview, will be there when you go for work, right? So these are the parts. Important training, yet it's a fun part of the poly study, right? So in terms of the IPPT, we'd like to highlight that we need to take it seriously and good to exercise and practice early and good to pass early, right? So because if you drag until the last moment, then more towards the December and lots of rainy days, very difficult to find a good weather day to pass your IPPT. So do take note of that. And the exercise, if you notice earlier in the slides, our costing, we all like exercise, right? So hope young people like you all do build, yeah, our health is the most important thing. All right. Okay, so this is the part. Last but not least, I will say the most exciting part. All right, so this is we have a new thing to update everyone, that we have a new CPP design competition. Okay, anyone want to unmute yourself? What is CPP? What does CPP stand for, the full name? Then after this, I will hand over to Virgo to share more about the competition.
Chemical pilot plant.
Great, thank you. Yes, thank you. Yes, so chemical pilot plant. So we are having a new chemical pilot plant coming your way. So the old one on top, we are all familiar after, yeah, after at least for year one whole semester. Okay, for year one, not really, because you have been conducting your practical lesson in the new lab. The reason is we have been vacant our chemical pilot plant for the renovation. That's why the photo was taken previously when it is all have the equipment there. So now no more, it's just an empty space waiting to be renovated. And below is a 3D model drawn by Dr. Leong himself, using 3D modeling software, that this is the vision. So real model is still discussing with the team. Mr. Baum is leading the discussion, and the 3D model we were, yeah. So at this point, we would like to gather your creative ideas regarding the new CPP. There are things the technical team will decide, right, in terms of the machine, the size, all the parameters. But there are things everyone here can help to contribute in terms of the. Okay, maybe Fergal, over to you. Let you share the excitement part about the competition. Right, so Fergal, you will share your side of the slide.
Okay, sure.
Okay, so I'll stop sharing here. Thanks.
Can everyone see this?
Yes, Fergal.
Yeah, okay. Sorry. Yeah, so the upcoming event starting from today is to actually have a revamp or renovation of our CPP plant designed by you, but mostly on towards the interior part of it. So it will last till end of this month. Tentatively, we see how it goes. Um, so what you guys can do is to actually choose a color scheme or color palette that will be suitable inside the chemical pilot plant. So these colors, up to four, they can be used for colors at the walls, on the railings, beams. Tentatively, you just have to select which color scheme you like and then just send us. That's number one. Also, don't forget to try to submit your artwork that can be used as wall decals inside that chemical pilot plant. So it will be very, very interesting chemical pilot plant. So what you can post is like digital illustrations or even paintings of your own. It can be a funny slogan, anything that is pertaining to chemical engineering. Just be mindful that it is not just any random artwork. It has to be related to the course. It will be best if you can sort of be creative and create an artwork that can relate to a subject, maybe like OSH or PSLP, whereby you can draw out a funny picture or something that, but it's also reminding you to be play a part in terms of safety. And yeah, and all of these, your color scheme as well as your artwork, there is an email here, tpcamcpp@gmail.com. You can send it. Don't forget to don't forget to know your let us know the size indicated. I think we for so far just send us your artwork first, and also your four colors that you would like to choose. And don't forget your name and metric number. And also, all participants who submit this will receive seal points, and also the chosen ones will receive prizes. So, what prize? Yeah, we there will be prizes. The winners will be receiving TP Niche T-shirt and also windbreaker. And also be make sure that you have to be original. Okay, you don't have you can't just Google any artwork and then send us. It has to be from you, submitted from you, and also from our side, we will see what best what is the most appropriate for the CPP plant. Very exciting things to see, and also you have 1 month. Yeah, it can be very simple also, but I think the most exciting part is the color scheme of the paintings of the CPP plant. Yeah, so if you have any questions also, you can just drop in the chat box or the pigeonhole. Yeah.
Thank you, Fergal. Are we excited? Can we have some response on this competition? I'm very excited on this brand new chemical pilot plant, and hope to have your idea coming in. Then we'll look forward to shortlist your ideas. All right. Right. So now let's move to Q&A. I have the industry insight sharing maybe more towards the end. So so that we can hear what is the encouragement from the industry partner. It's all here on my handphone, so that is not urgent. It's not won't run away. So let's take the good opportunity while Fogo is still here before his lesson, and let's start Q&A, shall we? Our Vanessa and Junlo. Thank you.
Share my screen real quick. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Miao and Mr. Fergo, for that insightful speech. I sure did learn a lot from that. And speaking of learning, we will now head over to our live Q&A session, whereby Dr. Miao, Mr. Bong, and Mr. Fergo will address those burning questions of yours. I will now pass my time on to Vanessa.
Thank you, Jinlong. Now let's proceed on to the Q&A session. Questions that you have submitted before the event will be answered before those from Pigeonhole. And we'll show you this slide once again. If you have questions during the event, feel free to ask them anytime through the website, Pigeonhole. Firstly, we'll look into GPA-related questions and an elective question. These questions will be answered by Mr. Fergo. Mr. Fergo, please.
Oh, okay. This will be. Sorry, can you guys hear me?
Yep,
Yep,
thank
Chen.
Yeah. I'm going to share you a few tips for those who are would love to increase their GPA moving forward. I like I said in the first part, I also have facing the same thing because when I was in the 3 years in TTP, I'm not a straight A student. I was starting from the bottom and then work my way up. Tips, right? So like I said before, you have to decide which subject have the heavy credit unit and make sure you balance it. And also when I was in year two onwards, yeah, year two was the one when I turned things around because when I was in year two, the contents are still heavy. But one thing that I did was to, like I said again, study peers. I made a good study peers because in year one, I was trying to study alone. And individually studying doesn't work because you cannot clarify your doubts ASAP. So number one, to find study peers and make sure they are quality study peers, not just when you just meet and then talk and then waste for another hour. So of course, number one is to get quality study peers who can clarify doubts with each other. Number two is to plan out which subject that you need to focus more on, depending on credit unit and depending on what you're lack on. Right, and then for any advice on choosing an elective cluster, well, I was from Mr. Boon's class. I took part in chemical processing. Yeah, I did the PSLP and petroleum. For in this case, advices on choosing elective cluster has to come from your personal choice. What comes straight to your mind? Because at the end of the day, even when you graduated, it doesn't mean that you still have to stick to the elective cluster. Like doesn't mean that I go inside chemical processing. I will have to do chemical processing. In the future, I can also do is quite vast. I can also do lab work also because because in general it's still the same sort of discipline. Yeah. So my advice on choosing an elective cluster is to choose what comes to your mind first, but also to know what you are strong at. So for me, I chose chemical processing because I know that I'm a hands-on learner, and my elective cluster allows me to have a lot of hands-on work and to have more visual work, which I enjoy doing. So that's why I took that. What's the minimum GPA to enter Chem Engine? Well, I'm actually in SIT, and I have to tell you that in SIT we don't look at your GPA. Yeah, because we look at your interviews. Sorry, I shouldn't say we. I'm not the teacher. Okay. Uh, what I meant was they look at your characteristic. They look you as a whole, not just for your grades. So my GPA is 2.99 or 3.0, and I got in through interviews and I got in. So even my friends, there are people who also score like me, like 3 or 2.8, and they managed to go in, and because they managed to they managed to basically pass the interviews. The interview, they look you as a holistically well-rounded person, not just academically. They want to see whether this person or you can have the attributes to actually have the ability to want to learn, and also your internship that plays a part lah. Because when I was in year three, my internship was overseas at Taiwan, which I did lab work. So I'm happy to say that that also helps in securing my place in if I want to further studies. In terms of NTU and US, I am afraid I'm pretty sure they look at your grades. So 3.0 is I tried to apply but I don't get it. So that's just to tell you lah. But I may be wrong. I may be wrong. Maybe you can clarify again. But as far as I'm concerned, when I was applying to NUS at a grade or GPA grade of 2.99, I didn't receive any email back. So, yeah. But for sure, there is no reason for you not to try. You never know. Yeah, I hope all of this can help you in your poly life. And again, if I want to sum it up, my tips is to really, number one, get study peers, quality ones. Make sure you plan ahead. You plan what subject you are lacking on, and to see the credit unit of percentages. My advice on choosing elective cluster is choosing what first come to your mind, because if you keep on saying that, oh, but this one got this one, but at the end of the day, you don't want to have that feeling whereby you are being forced to join. So first thing that comes to your mind, and what is you are good at. Yeah, I hope all of this can answers your questions.
Yep, thanks for go. I just want to jump in to add on some things on the minimum GPA. In fact, actually, I go online, managed to find some website like NTU and NUS regarding their indicative grade profile for the chemical engineering. The NUS for chemical engineering, actually the GPA is ranged from 3.58 to 3.97. You can see that it's actually quite a big range on the CGPA for the poly student. For NTU, I managed to get the informations like 3.6 to 3.97 as well. If you go Google, you can easily find this information. You just type in indicative grade profile for a poly student to join chemical engineering. It will link you to certain information, which is officially announced by the university themselves. Yep. So that's just to add on to the last part where Fergal shared just now. Thank you. Over to you, Vanessa. Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Wong and Mr. Fergo, for that input. I will now pass my time back to Chin Long for the subsequent questions.
Thank you, Vanessa. Now for questions relating to electives. The questions here will be answered by Dr. Miao. Dr. Miao, please.
Thank you, Jinlong. Yes. So what will I learn in biopharmaceuticals? Anyone happen to remember just now a flash of second in my slides? There are two modules in biopharmaceutical elective cluster. Okay, cannot remember, never mind. Right. So basically there are two modules. One is about biopharmaceutical processing. So the module will prepare you, for example, operating a bioreactor and how to purify. Basically for biopharmaceutical, it's those, vaccine, right? So to produce vaccine, firstly you need a reactor, right? You need a reactor mass produce. So you need to operate the reactor. After that, you need to know how to purify it, right? So you need to know how to separate the useful compound from the whole crude liquid. Then after that, you need to centrifuge and all these. So these are the parts the module will prepare you. The other subject is about GMP. Let me see. So it's about when you work in the pharmaceutical company, you need to know what's a good manufacturing practice, right? So there are documents to properly keep the document and all this. So that the other module prepare you for, yeah, Miss Helen is expert on that, right? Okay, so did I get it's all right for the first question? Anyone has raised a question, do feel free to just unmute yourself if we did not address your question to your satisfaction. Can let me know. Okay, no objection, then I move on. Okay, so I'm interested in laboratory work, but I'm still unsure of which elective to take. Okay, laboratory work. Okay, so just feel free to unmute yourself if you are the one asking the question. So lab work. Okay, this is a good question. All right, so basically in each of the elective cluster, there is lab work involved, because no matter what we say, we were sharing just now for industry, mainly the for industry. Of course, straight away applied chemistry will be a little bit more relevant in terms of lab work. But having said that, right, for example, chem processing still got QA, QC, right? You go to the chemical production plant, they do have the lab needed and chemistry knowledge needed, hands-on lab skill needed for the industry. Or pharmaceutical industry, they do have, right, need to do research R&D in the upstream process to make sure the cell are producing the vaccine. There's laboratory work. Semicon, later Miss Angel will add on. So yeah, so again, that unsure, yes, we will have a decision-making workshop for you, right? If you are still unsure at this point, it's totally fine, right? So a majority of classmates, if we vote now, majority is unsure, right? Which elective to take. So yes, so it's good to explore right now, start exploring which industry and what will suit you and attend the decision-making workshop, right? And ultimately you will make a decision. So just to share, yes, we'll do our homework to make the decision. Once we make the decision, let's own the decision. And there is sometimes, to a certain point, maybe some of our year 3 also agree, it's about our ownership of the decision that we made, right? Because the reason is there's no absolute right or wrong. And ultimately, elective cluster is certain specialization the course provide you the other, in addition to the core subject you have taken to specialize in certain area, but you have sufficient capability to adventure into another elective cluster industry. Doesn't mean that you choose pharmaceutical industry easy. You cannot work for chem processing. You are prepared to work all the diverse industry we shared in the earlier of my slide. Right. Okay. Right. Okay. Now this is a question very interesting and very important. Mr. Chen, if you are still here. So, Mr. Chen, are you here?
Are you
so,
looking
Mr.
for
Chen. Okay. Yes. Mr. Chen, are you here? Okay. But never mind. I seek input from Mr. Chen earlier regarding this question.
Hi.
Yes, you're here. Then may as well you're the expert to take this question.
Dr. Miao.
Yes, coming. You want to address the question about the criteria of picking the elective cluster?
Oh, regarding the criteria for picking the elective, is it?
Yeah. Is there some inside story that you can share?
Okay. So, right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, as Dr. Miao has repeated many times. Okay, so there will be a decision-making workshop, okay, in line for you. Okay, but just to briefly cover about the criteria for taking which elective cluster to choose. Okay, so several things you can consider. Okay, of course, firstly is your interest, like which area are you more interested in? Where does your passion lies? Okay, for example, we have the chemical processing. Okay, we have the analytical lab. and then we also have biopharmaceuticals. Okay, so yeah, so think about it, see which one you're more interested in. Yeah. So the elective cluster, right, will also affect your internship placement. Okay, so you also might want to consider what kind of industry you want to work in. Okay, so for example, if you choose the biopharmaceuticals, right, so you'll be working in a pharmaceutical plant. Okay, you could be working in a clean room environment. Okay, which will be quite different from the chemical processing plant on Jurong Island. Okay, so do consider where would you like to spend your 6 months of internship, right? Of course, if you are thinking of pursuing further studies, right? There are many different degrees. Chemical engineering, now they also have pharmaceutical engineering. So if you are thinking of doing a further degree, in pharmaceutical engineering, then taking the elective cluster in the pharmaceutical might help you. Okay, so this is also one thing you might want to consider. Okay, so ultimately, after poly or maybe after university, you end up in working in the industry. Okay, so what kind of industry you want to work in will also play a part, right? In which kind of elective cluster you like to pick, because different elective cluster will gear you up, for the different industries that you might want to consider joining. Yeah, so these are different things you can consider. Okay, you can take this as a different criteria. Of course, now you're still young. Okay, there's a lot of chance for you to explore. So do keep your options open. Okay, and then you can make your decision at the end of the year. Yeah, that's all I have, Dr. Miao.
Thank you, Mr. Chen. Yes, thanks, Mr. Chen. Right. Also, thanks for the question that you have raised. The question many classmates might want to ask, just didn't ask. So you asked and we clarify. So also in terms of may we get the elective cluster we choose? Let's say I choose applied chem. Is it that confirm I will get? Okay, so to address that, it's a first come, first serve. That's why for the elective cluster, once the system open, it's really very exciting. So our students are waiting there, waiting for the minute or the second it's open. Then quickly go there and book the electric cluster of your choice. So do make a decision first. Don't wait until the system is open. Then it might be too late, right? Yeah, what you like might be grabbed away by others, right? Ken, all right, so let me move on to the question, the number 4. Are the modules one-time thing or the learning concepts be carried forward throughout the rest of the semester? Okay, so this is one of the most great questions, Mr. Bong and my fellow colleagues. So this regarding the module a one-time thing, so or not. So there are the whole design of the course is designed, for example, with the year 1 fundamental, right? Then year 2 and the year 3 build upon each other. And this is the part we will continue to improve. And there's room for improvement to make it more connected. And right now there is connection. If you notice, for example, Excel skill was mentioned in certain of the module, were reinforced in another module, will make it more intentional. And the whole course structure is meant, hopefully not a one-time thing. The reason is, okay, the subject itself has certain focus, right? So for example, engineering mathematics has certain syllabus, must follow this. But this knowledge and skill set in the industry, there's no such, right? There's no such separation. A supervisor will give us certain task. It won't tell us to use EM1 knowledge to solve it. So ultimately, when we are entering the industry, it is up to us to integrate all the knowledge together, right? So while we are in the subject, we don't see it as one-time thing. And we hope that we will continue to use and reinforce, even for example, year 1.1, we finish year 1. And happy if we get 2 or a B or B above. But we don't forget it. The reason is it will be used for EM2, at least for EM2. And it will be useful for your future career. And even if we forget all about differentiation and how to do it, the confidence we talked about earlier, the confidence of that you are able to pass EM1 is building upon your confidence. And subject by subject, your level of confidence will be boosted. And by the time you enter the industry, it's not about how much you remember. Honestly, education is about we forget everything and what's left. And I hope that what's left is your confidence to learn, to conquer any knowledge that's needed by the job. All right. So yes, that question really motivates us, my colleagues and myself here. We want to make it more integrated and throughout. And the learning should reinforce from subject to subject, from level to level, and prepare you the best for the industry and for your career. All right. Yes, I'll move. Yes, that's for my part, right? Our host. Thank you. Thank you, Junlong and Vanessa.
Thank you, Dr. Miao, and thank you, Mr. Chan, for the sharing. Lastly, questions relating to job scopes and career paths and others. The questions here will be answered by Mr. Bong. Mr. Bong, please.
Okay, thanks. Can you hear me? Yeah, because I saw network problems from my laptop. Can everyone hear me clearly?
Yes.
Yes. All right. Good. Vanessa, can you move to the next slide? Yep. Okay, I think there are a few questions related to this part. The first one is, are there any lab-based job prospect for chemical engineering? I think the straight answer is yes. And what are the elective that's related to this job scope? I think as what Dr. Miao Huang and I think Carmen had shared earlier, most of the lab related works are related to this applied chemistry elective. So whoever choose the applied chemistry, you have the chance to work in the sorry, my line is not very good. The lab-based related work. Okay. Talking about the lab-based prospect, there are a few companies that I can think of. If you can see from my screen, example, the MSpec testing service, Ecolab, P&G, MGen manufacturing, Shell, PCS, and also Semcorp. All these industry are actually has different manufacturing and products. Like for example, if you look at P&G, P&G normally produce products like body care, for example, shampoo or body wash and so on. They do have the lab in the factory to test the quality of all these products that produce in the factory itself. Ecolab, we do have students who join to help do the water analysis because they serve the clients in the Jurong Island who produce a sample from the cooling tower, from the wastewater, and also for the water plant. So students who work under the Ecolab during the internship, right, they actually will be benefit if they choose the applied chemistry elective cluster. PCS, the Petrochemical Corporations of Singapore, is another related to the oil and gas industry. And all this industry, as I mentioned earlier, will need the chemical engineer who would like to work in the lab base itself. All right. Next slide, please. Thank you. The next questions that we have is, do all the students get the chance to go to an industry internship no matter how low or high of their CGPA? I think the answer is of course yes, because everyone's, if you clear all the subject from your previous semester, you should entitle for internship as your 3.2 semester. Of course, the selections of the allocations of the internship sometimes not only depends on your CGPA, but it also depends on the interview that we arrange with the company. A lot of companies are not just looking at your CGPA. Even though you have high CGPA, but you didn't perform well during the interview, you may not be selected for the internship also. So as you can see from the answer, is subject to the interview during the allocation. The next question is, since the world is shifting towards cleaner and more sustainable form of energy, how does that affect the oil and gas industry and consequently our future career prospect? Is chemical engineering become an absolute discipline? I think this is a very big question. In my opinions, oil and gas industry are not just limited to refinery for energy. If we look at this question itself, a lot of us think that oil and gas are just convert the crude oil into the final product like diesel, gasoline for the energy usage. In fact, that is not 100% true. If you look at the industry itself, beside the refinery to get all the final products, we do further process the final product into different petrochemical products. As you can see from the list here, we can produce ethylene, propylene, and so on. All these and other types of petrochemical product actually can convert into different material. For example, if you want to produce plastic, and then the plastic can actually generate from all these petrochemical product and so on. And if you think at that direction, right, you will sort of imagine or agree that chemical engineer will not be an absolute discipline. Even if you look at when we talk about recently all this vaccine and so on, right? What do we use to hold all the vaccine? Is a plastic container, right? So sometimes you want to store or we want to keep all these things, we will use plastic. And sometimes with all this e-commerce, we always talk about e-commerce. Chemical engineer may not involve directly, but that's also not 100% true. E-commerce use a lot of packagings and plastic material, and where all this plastic material come from is actually come from the chemical engineering or the oil and gas industry itself. So you just need to imagine that chemical engineering is not a discipline that's going to be obsolete soon. It's just some things that's very versatile, a lots of things the chemical engineer can do. And I also share over here, chemical engineer, sometimes we call ourselves process engineer, which means we learn unit process. And all these unit processes can apply in different industry also, like water treatment, wastewater treatment. Sometimes some of the utility plants, for example, oil and gas industry, they may use a lot of steam. And then they want to generate steam, and that's need boiler design and things like that. If you further study the chemical engineering in your university or the degree level, you will learn all this, and which is quite useful or not just limited to what we mentioned over here. I think this is a very good question, and I hope the chemical engineer or whoever in this meeting understand that the chemical engineer is not something that is going to obsolete soon. Thank you, Venice. Next slide, please. Okay, next question is, if I did not do well in my internship, will I offered will it affect whether I get selected for future job? Of course, if you didn't do your internship well, it will affect, right? But it depends on what do you mean by did not do well in your internship. Is it because of you cannot adapt to the company environment or certain issue related to the company? If yes, I think internship, the internship LO and the company supervisor, we will always communicate and try to help student and provide necessary support. But if you didn't do well in the internship because of your mindset itself, you set certain criteria, limit yourself from learning, then of course, with that kind of attitude, it will, I think, affect your future job selection also. I can share some of the story last time when we tried to allocate students during the internship. As you all know, most of our internship company are located at Jurong Island or even Tuas South. Those are really the MNC company can provide a very good training for our student. But when we approach the students, provide them the kind of opportunity for the internship, some student rejected with a very sort of like to me the reason is not very valid lah. I think one of the example is like, I don't want to travel so far. I just want to go to the company nearer to my home address. So if you have that kind of a mindset, it's actually limit yourself. And of course, internship, if you don't do well, sometimes it will, because a good internship will provide you a good network. Which means that later on when you go back to the supervisor to ask them to provide you a reference letter or testimonial, if you did not maintain a good relationship with your supervisor, I think that will actually sort of like prevent you for applying a good job in future also. So yeah, try to be open-minded and also try to learn as much as possible during your internship. The next questions I have here, what is the biggest misconceptions that polytechnic student have about chemical engineering once they've entered the field? This is a very difficult question to answer. For me, this some misconceptions, right, is only from my opinion. If you can see that I only write 3 keywords there. Chemical engineer, actually I wanted to put not equal. The slide here show equal. Actually, chemical engineering, chemical engineer is not equal to chemical technician, is not equal to chemist. When we graduate as a polytechnic student, I think most of the time we can apply job under the chemical technician, which means you are not as good as the chemical engineer yet, right? Only when you finish your degree, then you can call yourself chemical engineer. Another misconceptions is the chemical engineer, we always think we are chemists. Although in our year 3, we do have the elective cluster for applied chemistry, which means we train you to work in the lab with all the skill. But I always feel that we should not call ourselves chemists in that sense. Reason being is in your year 1 and year 2, actually you learn some engineering knowledge. For example, you learn PCI, you learn thermodynamic, you learn how to design reactor and what all these reactor related in the MEB and so on. For a chemist, they will not learn this. Which means that chemist is more on the lab. They know how to formulate the product, but they do not know how to make it in a big scale or in the production line. Of course, after the elective, if you choose to work in the lab-based sort of job, that is also possible. But if you call yourself chemist, you are actually not able to work in the oil and gas industry. So I will always say that chemical engineer, you can work in the lab, but lab or chemist, you cannot work in the engineering environment. That is actually one of the biggest misconception that my opinion or from what I can think of. All right, thanks, Bernice. Let's move on to the next slide. Is it the last one already? I still got 2, right? Yeah. Any foreseeable overseas internship? We used to have overseas internship. I think like what Fergal shared just now, he used to have his internship in Taiwan. I think it's one of the university, and I think he enjoyed a lot during his internship in Taiwan itself. If I remember correctly, he also mentioned to me, because Fergal, he not Chinese educated background. So when you go to Taiwan, he actually get an opportunity to see or to mix with students or colleagues that always speak in Chinese, and he managed to pick up the Mandarin or the Chinese during his internship also. Yeah, we used to have the overseas internship, but because of the COVID, we stopped for last year and this year. It all depends on how's the government's the measure, or whether we open the border soon. I think once we have it, we will definitely want to encourage students go for overseas internship more. Right. I used to be the person in charge of the overseas internship. I think Dr. Miao Huang also worked in overseas internship last time also. Next question is, are there any way TP can help the students to secure a place somewhere? All right, this one I sort of like get it from the TP website. I hope every one of you understand that we have this ECG counselor from our student support and career service department. You all can visit the website, and then there are a few colleagues there can help you to sort of like understands the career development, and also any opportunity for any job application. Of course, during the SIP or the LO and at the school, we do have contact with different company. And if all those company approach us, ask us to see any graduate who can work in their company, we will share that information with everyone also. All right. Next slide, please. Thank you. Yeah. I think this one I answered earlier when someone asked about the GPA for each of the university. I do share some of the link just now. This is what I meant, the IGP, indicative grade profile. Of course, this is not the only selection criteria, like what Fergal shared earlier. The interview and all this will actually indicate whether you are you will be select for the course or not. All right. But as I also mentioned earlier, based on the link that I have, NUS, they look at CGPA of around 3.58 to 3.97, and NTU is 3.6 to 3.97. So it's actually quite a big range for that. Of course, like what Fergal said, he actually studied in SIT. SIT also do have some indicative. I don't have the info here, but you all can visit the website. You all can also Google as many as possible. All right. I think this is the last slide I have. Yep. Back to you, Bernice. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bong, for the sharing. Now we will have a short 5.
Okay, welcome back. May I just check, is Dr. Mel and Mr. Bong back?
Yes, I'm
Yep.
back.
Okay. Great. Now we will look at the questions that you guys have posted in the pigeonhole. So, Jindong, take it away.
Vanessa. So the first question will be, hi, good afternoon. Just asking, I understand that recently ChemEng has released the new elective of semiconductor industry. So do we go to work for what we choose for student internship program too? Would any teacher like to take on this question?
Miss Angela, are you around to take the question?
Hi, Dr. Miao.
Thanks.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so Jia Xing, right? Yeah, just to answer your question, our first batch of 5 students, they are actually all posted to semiconductor companies, namely Micron and SSMC. So definitely the teachers here will try our best to secure a company that's related to your elective area to the best of our ability. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Next
Thank you.
question. What is the difference between biomedical engineering in BEng in chemical engineering and BTech in chemical engineering at NUS? Is it recommended to study and work? And is it a part-time? Is there a part-time degree from NUS better than SIT full-time degree? A lot of questions, but would any teacher like to take on this question?
Honestly, I don't really understand what's the difference between B engineering chemical engineering and what B tech in chemical engineering. Who is asking these questions? Let me know. Anyone's how can I help? Because I have not studied at US during the degree.
Maybe I can answer this as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, so the BTech is actually the part-time degree. Yeah, and usually when you start working at a company right after your diploma, maybe after a few years, if you're doing well and the company wishes to promote you to become an engineer, then usually they will send you for this BTech degree or even sponsor part of the payment for this degree. Yeah, so that's the main difference. The BTech is just a part-time degree, and it being part-time, the content is slightly less demanding, yeah, compared to the full-time bachelor in chemical engineering. Yeah. And with regards to the second part, whether a part-time degree from NUS is better than an SIT full-time degree, I really I'm not sure how to
Yeah, I think it's hard to
answer
answer,
this.
right?
I don't
Yeah.
think so, because eventually when you go to work, it's about your attitude, and yeah, so it's not exactly right to compare lah. Yeah.
That's right. I think it's not
Okay, thank
apple
you.
to apple comparison also. Yeah, because as long as the students or whoever learns the skill, right, and then when you come to the job, if you have a good attitude and you apply the knowledge that you learn, sometimes SIT students may move faster or higher than the NUS part-time student. It's very difficult to answer that. Yeah, I agree with Miss Andrea. It's very hard to answer that. Yeah, a lot of time depends on the student itself. But I learned something from Miss Andrea's about this Bachelor Engineering Chemical and also the BTech. Now that I know one is full-time, one is part-time. Yep, thank you.
Okay. Next question. Does GPA matter when we are choosing our electives?
So the GPA is based on first come, first serve. Yeah, so it's really based on your passion and how fast you are in clicking the button to get your easy of your choice. Yeah, all the best.
Right. Next up, if my final cumulative GPA is 3.4, is there still a chance for me to get accepted into universities like NUS or NTU?
I think I'll take this question. Like what I mentioned earlier, the GP is an indicative grade, right? No harm to apply if you very keen to join NUS or NTU with even 3.4. If they choose you for the interview, right, you will still have the chance to be selected. Yep. So the answer will be no harm to try. Yep. And it depends on the selection process. Thank you.
The next two question is very similar, so I'm just gonna say it one time. I'm just gonna ask you one time. Okay? If let's say I don't have a good GPA now, does it affect me when I graduate from the school? Would any teacher like to give some advice on that? But
It depends on what you. Yeah, I think. Yeah, maybe I will take the question also. Because the question is actually asking, will it affect when graduate? It depends on what do you mean by affect. Affect your scholarship application, affect your admission to any of the university, or maybe like what you say, will the company choose you when you apply certain job based on your GPA? I think it really depends on what do you mean by that, and there is no direct answer to this type of question also. Sometimes you don't have good GPA, but when you apply a job, you show a good passion, and also the interview, you're able to convince the company to hire you, then you will get in. So yeah, I think that's what I would try to answer these two questions. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bong. The next question is directed to the design competition, I think.
Sure.
Will graffiti designs of ChemEng artwork be allowed in the chemical pilot plant, in the new chemical pilot plant?
Okay, thanks for the question. For the current competition, we are not looking into the graffiti design. So it is more for the colors, paint scheme, and the wall decal, the sticker kind of design, and the poster design. So graffiti, if you would like to, if you have the talent in that, also can also submit, but not immediate. We can apply. Maybe in years in future we can consider that. Yeah. All right. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Miao. The next question would be, if we were to further our studies on chemical engineering in other country, which country would the teachers recommend, or which university in that specific country? Is there a answer to that? Specific answer to that, perhaps?
I think I'll take the question also. I think this is also a very big question, and sort of like very hard for lecturer or us to decide which country we will recommend you to go. If you ask me, I would say go to a country like China, where there are a big job market there, right? If you're able to accept that, then this is one of the very good choice. But when we talk about like some of during the internship last time, when we do the overseas internship, we actually collaborate with this university called University Technology of Sydney. So if you do the 6-month internship over there, there are certain credit that you can exempt when you apply for their chemical engineering over there. So if you are looking at a shorter study period, maybe that is one of the university that you can consider, University Technology of Sydney in Australia. I mean, there are other countries, so many university, US, UK, and so on. It also depends on the budget and so on. So I don't think we have the direct answer for that, but what we can share is like what I mentioned earlier. Yeah, thank you.
All right, we'll move on to the final questions for today. If I want to have a job prospects related to water engineering, which is, I think, is a subset of civil engineering, which electives do I choose? Which elective is like very similar to that aspect or prospect? Any take on that?
I think
Yeah.
I'll take this question again.
Thank you, Mr. Bong.
Yep. The water engineering means you like to learn some things like the reverse osmosis, filtration, and so on. For our chemical processes under the PPP, one of the subject, petrochemical plant processes, you will learn all these utility treatment design. You will learn things like what is RO, and then what is cooling tower, and what are the water quality that's allowed to discharge to environments under the PUB requirement and so on. So if you are looking at that, I think the chemical processes elective will be suitable for you. But if you are looking at the working in the lab, wanted to analyze some of the water parameters only, then maybe the applied chemistry will more suitable for you. Example, people send you sample, you know how to conduct the conductivity test, COT, BOT test, and so on. The one I think is more towards the applied chemistry elective. So it all depends on what do you mean by the water engineering here? If I take the water engineering here, refer to the all the treatment processes, then I think the chemical processes elective will be more suitable. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Miao, Mr. Bong, and Miss Andrea for your inputs of the questions. So now, before we end off, right, let me invite Dr. Miao and Miss Andrea to share some industry advice on PPT. Yeah, after that, we'll end off. Yeah, Dr. Miao, please.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Right. So this is the last segment. We'd like to share the advice and input from industry. So maybe I invite Miss Angela to come in to share about the insight from semicon industry. After that, and I'll share from the other industry that I received message to encourage everyone here. Thank you, Miss Angela. Over to you.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Miao. Yeah, sorry, I can't turn on my camera and the internet is very bad today. Okay, so I'll just quickly give you an overview. And basically, a semiconductor industry is where the future lies. As you can tell, all your daily electronic appliances, your handphones, laptops, even cars and the fridge at home, they all have semiconductor components in them. So you may think that semiconductor is about electrical engineering, connecting all the circuits and all the chips and all that. That's true. That's the job of electrical engineers. But in fact, the production of these chips, right, involves over 1,000 steps. Okay, so to produce one chip, it can take a few months and it goes through several different processes, and all these are actually chemical processes. So within the semiconductor manufacturing company, actually one of the largest department, we call them the process engineering department. It is actually made up mostly of chemical engineers. So each of these 1,000 steps will have actually one chemical engineer taking care of it, doing the process optimization, ensuring that the process is running smoothly, and just monitoring it on a daily basis. So in fact, there is definitely high demand for people with chemical engineering background in the semiconductor industry. As you know, there is a chip shortage right now due to the global pandemic. So last year was COVID-19 and all that. A lot of industries did not do very well, but semiconductor is one of the few industries that did very well and made quite a significant profit. So if you want a bright future, you can consider joining the semiconductor industry. And it's not limited to just all these process optimization and production of the chips. There are also support functions. I think Mr. Bong and Dr. Miao has mentioned earlier as well. We do have QA and QC. We have a chemical testing lab. So if you do applied chemistry, you can also consider joining semiconductor industry. Yeah. And other than that, you can also probably join the facilities department as well, because we do use very clean water, okay, ultra pure water. So you can see there's a lot of skill sets involved within the semiconductor industry. Yep. So if you have any questions, just feel free to drop me a message. And if you want to find out more on the job scope and all that. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Angela. So now let me share my screen to share with everyone the advice I gathered from industry. All right, so the first piece of advice from Dr. Ang. Dr. Ang is Chem Engine alumni many years back, and he is also used to be our colleagues lecturer in Chem Engine. So he would like to encourage everyone that be prepared to learn new things out of your discipline as and open up more opportunity to new horizon. So this is keep learning, lifelong learning. Okay, so this Mr. Henry from chemical and energy industry would like to encourage everyone that chemical industry remain to be a pillar for Singapore's economic success. So there are huge amount of opportunity there. So for you all to consider, and a lot of job opportunity here. So there's bright future, right? Bright future other than semiconductor, we also have bright future in the chemical and energy industry. Next slide, we have Dr. Ang Xinran. So Dr. Ang Xinran is our ex-colleague, chem engineering lecturer. He is now working in pharmaceutical industry. So he would like to encourage everyone to find out as much as possible about the industry and the reading about the industry, reading the news, and also actively connect with people and ask questions. So we do have mentorship opportunities, and do grab the opportunity when the mentorship comes in year 2, for year 1 to look forward to get more networking with mentors. Okay. Xin Yu is our alumni, fresh graduate in this year. So he would like to encourage everyone to stay positive. He will also would like to highlight that it's actually we are not expected to know everything on the job. So we would like to encourage everyone that be confident of yourself and raise questions and learn together. We are never be expected to know everything. Okay, Dr. Sebastian. So next two, the only 2 quotes left is from our industry partner, not directly linked to the 4 elective cluster, but I would like to highlight to you that regarding the versatile skill set, regarding the adaptability, the confidence to enter to variety of industry. One such industry is food industry. So food industry is also moving, and chem engineering is about multidisciplinary, right? So you already experienced many different disciplines put together to make something happen, and in large scale. So food is one such exciting industry as well. So yeah, keep an eye for the industry, and you might find yourself a rewarding career moving forward in food industry. Haiyang is our alumni and is working in business. So it's entirely a different discipline altogether from chem engineering to business operation and the management. So he do highlighted that although there are challenges in changing the lane, but do the skill set prepared by the chem engineering study do benefit him. So there are many examples that from our alumni, from our industry partner, and that's the last slide. Yeah, so to highlight that we would like to for this versatile training and be confident, and that's the objective for the whole training. Right, that's all from me. Thanks, Vanessa. Thanks, Junlong. Over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Miao and Ms. Andrea, for the informative sharing. Okay, now we have come to the end of this event. Thank you all for joining us today, and a special thanks to Dr. Miao, Mr. Bong, Mr. Fergo, Mr. Chan, and Ms. Andrea for answering the questions and making this town hall possible. Do remember to fill in the feedback form for attendance. This form also allows us to improve our future town hall events. Thank you and have a nice day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.